What's up guys, Jimmy here, and today I want to talk about Ryu in Season 4 with the Alex patch being live and me having some good experience now with the new patch, the changes, how they feel. I can give you guys my assessment on how Ryu feels in this new version of the game. So let's start off by talking about the changes themselves, and I'll go through the list one by one, starting with Medium Punch, and I'll tell you what I think about it. You know, the Medium Punch change is actually kind of significant on paper. Going from 11 frames on whiff to 13 frames is a big nerf actually, but at the same time the medium punch wasn't really used like crouching medium punch, where that button was whiffed a lot in like hoping to clip somebody. The standing medium punch, I didn't really use it that much like that. It was more used to get close to the opponent than I hope to get a startup of a button so you are already in range and you're not really looking to whiff it. So even though on paper this is a pretty substantial nerf, it's not really how I use medium punch, so I'm not really noticing it that much so far. Next up, let's talk about the crouching hard punch. Now this is a change that I actually noticed pre-patch, where sometimes the crouching heavy punch would whiff if you would use it in a combo, specifically medium punch on punish counter into crouching fierce could sometimes barely whiff, and with this change it will now more consistently work. It's a minor buff, but technically not really necessary, because whenever you can do this combo, you can also do a standing hard punch combo, so it's not really going to change much. Now next on the list is Solo Plexus, but I want to talk about it last because I think it's the most impactful change, so let's leave it for now and talk about the double or the high double strike. That is his target combo, and it's pretty cool because now he gets new combo variations. He can now whenever you're in the corner and you do the target combo, you can get a medium DP nowadays on a grounded hit. That was not possible before. And in a drive rush scenario, on a juggle, on an aerial juggle, you even get heavy DP. This is the new optimal route in some cases, but at the same time, it's not really a game changer for Ryu. Ryu could always combo in these scenarios, so now he gets a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more damage output, but nothing huge. Next up, his Overdrive Shyukin got a minor change, more consistency supposedly. To be honest, I never had an issue with Overdrive Shyukin for Ryu, so I'm not quite sure which situation they're covering here, but supposedly it's a bit more consistent. Next we have a nerf for Ryu's Lighthouse Shogi. This is a move that was used quite a lot and still is used quite a lot, and the drive gauge reduction, so you're doing less drive gauge damage now to the opponent, which is something that obviously is going to make a difference. The biggest one that I thought was going to be is the increased pushback on block during burnout. Ryu is notorious for his ability to be very oppressive in burnout. If you do light Hasho strings, it's very difficult to get away from it, and I thought when I read the patch notes that this is basically gone now, but to be honest, this pushback is a lot more minor than I was anticipating. I thought I was going to notice a major difference, but his pressure is honestly still amazing in burnout. If you have the opponent in burnout, then your Hasho strings are still very, very strong. So I don't really consider this as much of a negative impact for Ryu as I was expecting initially. It's a nerf, but it's not that bad. So last but not least, I wanted to talk about the Solo Plexus strike, which saw an interesting adjustment. So it says activation timing for the standby block hitbox changed from the 3rd to the 17th frame. So what does this actually mean? In Street Fighter, every time you press a button to attack your opponent, there's a proximity block hitbox that triggers in order to decide whether the opponent can move or whether he will go into a block animation. If the opponent holds back and this proximity hitbox is inside of the opponent's, well, hurt box, then the opponent would actually block and get locked into a block stance instead of walking backwards. This is what was changed. So when you are doing Solo Plexus, in the previous patch, the opponent was basically locked in place on the 3rd frame and he could not escape the pressure. Nowadays, basically until the move becomes active, you're, well, free to walk around. So that means if you're like not incredibly close to Ryu, the probability of you being able to walk away and get a whiff punish is a lot higher now. Capcom even has an official statement regarding the solar plexus change. So let's get through that, okay? So they say this powerful move already enabled you to continue attacking through combos or blocks regardless of distance. However, we improved it to the point that it could potentially stop your opponent from making any attack, putting you at a massive advantage when attacking from a distance. Now, Capcom acknowledges here they made it so strong in a previous patch. The original version of Solar Plexus was actually not that strong. It would not lock the opponent in place. They made that change specifically to make him stronger. Keep that in mind, because I think that's going to be very important to, well, gauge how strong Ryu is going to be in this Alex update. So they continue by saying, originally from this distance we want the player to utilize a whirlwind kick or a special move to keep their opponent in check. But given the favorable situation of a solar plexus strike, it was hard to see the benefit of using anything else, so we delayed the activation timing of the block idle hitbox. I find it interesting Capcom would mention the whirlwind kick, aka the forward hard kick, as a substitute for solar plexus, because I find myself using it a lot more now that solar plexus is that much weaker. And yeah, spoiler alert, it is a lot weaker, okay? This is the most obvious change out of any of the changes that they introduced to Ryu. When I use Solar Plexus, I'm really putting my life on the line most of the time. And the amount of times people are walking outside of the range and whiff punishing me for that is like unbelievably high. It's such a risky tool to use nowadays. So yeah, it naturally makes me gravitate towards Whirlwind Kick. Now the problem for Ryu in particular is that the Whirlwind Kick itself has a lot of risks attached as well, and it doesn't automatically combo when you land a hit, so you need to counter hit for it. I mean, you can also hit confirm into a Tatsu, but it's not that easy to do, and it kind of depends on when exactly and where you're hitting the opponent. So it's a much less consistent tool than Solar Plexus, which is why, to begin with, it's not used as much as Solar Plexus. Even though Whirlwind Kick is faster, which makes it much more difficult to get perfect parried on a reaction, the benefit from using it, you always have to judge a tool by how much benefit are you getting from it and how much risk are you taking. It's still a slow tool, and when it whiffs, you're gonna get whiff punished just like with Solar Plexus strikes. So this is why it wasn't used, or it's not used as much and as aggressively. It's such a bad thing for Ryu to kind of lose Solar Plexus strike, because Ryu's main weakness is, and has always been, his inability to mix up the opponent, his inability to play the neutral game and then get the upper hand just from footsies alone. Ryu has a very limited tool set, and because of that, that was initially the reason why Solar Plexus got buffed the way it did. He was supposed to be getting something to challenge the other players in the neutral game. I know some people in the comms are losing their minds already when I'm talking like that about Ryu. I mean, last season everybody was complaining about Ryu. Supposedly he was the best character on the planet, you know, in any fighting game, strongest by far, you know. People were really talking about Ryu like that. The truth is, and I've always said that, I thought in the last season Ryu was very strong. But so were a lot of other characters, you know? I mean, we ended up being at Ed versus Mai in Grand Finals of Capcom Cup, you know? So that was really totally within the expectation of the tier lists, you know? And Ryu did not make top 16. So there you have it, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, the results, I mean, you can always point to one tournament where a strong character didn't really make an impact, but throughout the entirety of the Capcom Pro Tour for last year, Ryu was not an outstanding character. He was doing fine, like a lot of other strong characters, but not nearly as strong as Mai, for example. So I was really surprised when I saw that many people complain about Ryu, because I thought, okay, he still clearly has weaknesses. He hits you like a truck, no doubt about that. And honestly, after this patch, nothing is going to change about that. Ryu is still going to hit you like a truck. When you get hit by Ryu, you die. Okay, so I can already see, like, in this season, people will still complain about Ryu, but at the same time, you really have to acknowledge Ryu doesn't have a lot of strong tools in the neutral game. It has always been his weak point to challenge and make things happen, make people do risky moves. Instead, it's usually Ryu who's the one taking the risks, you know? I mean, you see all this crazy gameplay about Ryu. I mean, players doing drive rush into heavy donkey kick to desperately get an opening, because when you land that, you do a lot of damage, right? And I mean, I do that as well. But please keep in mind, like, this type of inconsistent gameplay, when it works, it's great, but, well, when you're flipping a coin, you gotta remember there's, well, another side of that coin, you know? You're gonna be losing because of that as well. So yeah, before I ramble on for too long, I'm gonna end it here. The TLDR is, Ryu is still strong, but more inconsistent now. And I think my prediction is gonna be, we're not gonna be seeing that many Ryu players at Capcom Cup next year, if any. The only one that was truly a Ryu main that really, like, played Ryu at Capcom Cup exclusively was Ending Walker, and he did not make it out of the group stages. And the rest of the players who played Ryu did not play him exclusively, and I have very, very high doubts we're going to be seeing a lot of Ryu play at Capcom Cup level this year. So yeah, guys, it's your turn. Let me know, what do you think about Ryu in Season 4 with the Alex patch? Is he still a strong contender? Honestly, it's still hard to say. It's still early in the season, so definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.